Hey guys, it's Zombie Avocide with a video for once, I know. Usually I do live streams, but today I decided to do a video finally. And not just any video, but a ranking video. I know that my channel is mainly about COD Zombies, so I decided to rank every single COD Zombies map from worst to best. I know several people have done this in the past, but this will be my take on it. So I hope you guys enjoy. I do have several criteria for this list. I'll be taking into account different things such as map layout and Easter egg, if there is one, because some maps don't have Easter eggs, map features, and replayability. So this isn't just a ranking about one feature of the map, but I'm taking everything into account. And by every Zombies map, I literally mean every Zombies map. This includes everything from World at War to BO6. Not including Shattered Veil because it didn't come out by the time this video is up, but I will be including every other BO6 map. Also including non-Treyarch maps, including AW, IW, World War II, literally everything. However, there is two things I'm not including. I'm not including MWZ because I haven't played it, and also it's not really zombies. I'm counting round-based zombies. And Extinction, because Extinction ain't zombies. Now, also keep in mind that I've played all these maps for several hundred hours, so I do know somewhat about what I'm talking about. Obviously, you guys are free to discredit me in the comments, but... And at the end of the day, these are just my opinions, and your list will differ from mine, and I'd love to see your top 10 Zombies maps in the comments below. But, without further ado, let's just get into it. Now, coming in dead last, the worst Zombies map of all time in my opinion, is to no one's surprise, actually Transit. Wait, no. I didn't write that in the script. Transit isn't that bad, actually. What the hell? Oh, wait, no, it's actually Anfang. My bad. I actually despise Vanguard Zombies because not only was the COD Zombies community at an all-time low during this game, but this map has ushered in the worst era of zombies ever, in my opinion. The layout of this map is horrendous. I hate how you have to travel to different areas of the map from a central hub, and all these areas have nothing related to each other at all. They just do not mesh well. On top of that, the areas themselves are not visually distinct or interesting because the map lacks identity. Did I mention that the map isn't round-based either? So you have to end up completing objectives, so you go back to the central hub and buy upgrades, which is very boring and time-consuming. And because of the fact that all the upgrades are back at the central hub once you start an objective, you are stuck with the loadout you currently have when you go to the objective. This map is so bad that it doesn't even have a main Easter egg either. I mean, it has Easter eggs, but I wouldn't consider them fun or engaging at all. They're just there. The special zombies in this map are ridiculous as well. Who decided it would be a good idea to give a zombie a minigun? It shreds through your health and leaves no room for counterplay. See, the Boom Shriers, which are the other zombies of the map, I can excuse because we've had exploding enemies and zombies for a while and they aren't too broken. But this map certainly has some of the worst special zombies of all time. This is the zombies map that made me and the community at the time lose faith that we'd get back to good zombies maps. Luckily, BO6 is looking promising, and hopefully Vanguard and Anfang will go down in COD Zombies history as the biggest blunder they have ever done, and they will learn from their mistakes. And not far behind it is its brother map, Terra Malledicta, or as the community has called it, Terra Malledicta, and I agree. Another example of Treyarch dropping the ball when it comes to COD Zombies. This map shares a lot of the same issues as Anfang, although it's a little better. It's not by much. This map does have better flow and layout because it doesn't have you traveling to several different areas that don't relate to each other in the slightest. However, it does have bland map design, uninteresting mechanics, and, say it with me, a terrible Easter egg. At least this map has a main Easter egg, so it gets a little more credit, but overall, another terrible Vanguard experience that I will never be returning to. And right after that is the Archon, because Vanguard Zombies are just too good for us mortals. I hope you like seeing the color green across the entirety of the map, because that's what this map's aesthetic looks like. This is the conclusion to Vanguard Zombies that no one asked for. Although it is one of the better maps in Vanguard, it still fails to impress on all fronts. Bad Easter egg? Check. Bad map design? Check. And really bad mechanics? Double fucking check. At least the boss fight is somewhat enjoyable, and it's probably the best part of this map. This does show that Vanguard did improve over the course of its DLC season, but as an overall package, Vanguard is still shit, and it's never worth touching. Now, finally, onto our last Vanguard map, Numa Reborn. Treyarch knew they fucked up so hard that they had to reuse a better map for one of their DLC maps. Not only that, but this map was already in Anfang, so you know they were running out of ideas. Surprisingly, this is the best Vanguard has to offer though. It's the old Numa map design, with some new areas to make it feel somewhat original. Its Easter egg isn't awful, but it's still not interesting. But the perk system of Vanguard does not mesh well at all with the layout of Numa. Instead of just buying the perk like you did in the old Numa, you have to end up rebuying and traveling back to the same area over and over just to rebuy the perk. It significantly hurts the map flow and doesn't make me want to replay it at all. Even though it bears the face of its predecessor, it's nowhere near as memorable or replayable. Just play the original Numa if you're going to play one. Now we can talk about maps that just have nothing on them. They're just empty and barren. That's why we're talking about Bus Depot now. This is as bare bones a survival map as you're going to get. The only thing on here being the mystery box. There's no reason to play Bus Depot when there are so many better survival maps in the other games. Coming in slightly higher than Bus Depot is Farm. The only thing this map added was perks. Still's got the same thing as Bus Depot, the box, and nothing else. These maps are just too boring to go for high rounds on, and thus why they're the worst survival maps Treyarch has to offer by default. We're finally getting into our first non-Treyarch map, which is the Tortured Path, which is a fitting name since this map feels like Chinese water torture when you play it. For context, when I grew up, the World War II DLC cycle was coming out, and I quite enjoyed some of the other World War II maps, but the Torture Path is just plain awful. For starters, they split up this map into 3 parts. One being a plain old field with nothing in it, one a constantly shifting boat with nothing in it, and one a frozen wasteland with nothing in it. Doing this is one of the worst mistakes they could have made, because it means the Easter egg and the map flow suffer because of it. So the whole experience has 3 Easter eggs, and they're all terrible, just telling you now. One, as you putting a zombie on a windmill to resurrect him, and get him to carry a battery to the door in order to open it. Another has the worst visual effect I have ever seen in zombies, and shooting and following around the fish. And the last one is the worst offender because it has you guessing random symbols to input into a wall 3 different times. And your reward is one of the worst wonder weapons of all time, the Sword of Barbarossa. Also, technically, this map isn't round-based either, because they have you doing objectives every 3 rounds, and ending it off with an uncreative boss fight. Completing the Easter egg also nets you with the round-based versions of these maps, and I guess Sledgehammer didn't care too much about them because they gave them to everyone instead of having to do the Easter egg instead. Let's just say this map is a map I will never be playing ever again as well. Up next, we have another non-Treyarch map, which is Infection from AW Zombies. Oh boy, everyone's least favorite Exo Zombies map. And there's a good reason for that hate. This map's design is awful, straight up awful. Having to buy doors that are just 2,000 points to get to the power. And the exosuit is flat out ridiculous. And because of that, you'll have very little money for perks and the box, so it's very difficult to survive even in the early rounds. On top of that, they literally shut off certain parts of the map with toxic gas that will kill you in seconds if you don't cleanse. I also hope you like pretty much mandatory escort missions, because every few rounds you'll have a survivor that needs rescuing, otherwise your exosuit and your power gets turned off for a fucking long time. Isn't that fun? The Easter egg isn't much better either, as it involves you finding small valves around the map that you could really miss if you're not looking, and have way too many spawn locations, as well as meat that also is easy to miss and has way too many spawn locations. I should also mention that an Easter egg where you need a wonder weapon out of the box, in my eyes, is automatically worse than one where you can just build the wonder weapon. It's just so much easier. So having to get that damn Magnetron out of the box is annoying as hell. I gotta give some credit though, it does have a unique Easter egg reward though, as the Burgertown mascot Bubby becomes active and will kill zombies for you, which is really cool. Other than that though, Infection is a map that has so many terrible features on it that will just leave the average player frustrated and confused. I know I teased it earlier with my little joke, but now I'm not joking, now it's the time to talk about Transit. I know this map has been talked about to death by every single zombies YouTuber ever, so I'm not going to go super in depth with it, but what I will say is that Transit solo is a lot worse than playing with teammates. I just have a lot of dumb fun playing Transit with friends, as it is a great troll map. However, you cannot overlook the glaring flaws with this map, such as the denizens, unlimited fog, the Avogadro being a bland boss, a perk that does literally nothing on solo and might as well be useless in co-op, and lava that will kill you quicker than your ex when she finds out you cheated on her. The Easter egg is also annoying because it requires the jet gun, one of the worst wonder weapons ever, and EMP grenades, which are just hard to get from the box. I see what Treyarch was trying to do with this map, but I just think they got too big for their britches when making Transit. And surprise, surprise, the next map after Transit is Die Rise, because they didn't do much better job when they were making the next map. This was one of the maps I refused to buy and play as a kid, because I knew Malledicta and Origins were just so much better. First off, Treyarch is wrong for putting PhD on the map, but putting an unreachable spot where taking fall damage is the #1 cause of death. The map design is all based on elevation, which is kinda cool, except for the fact that you have to wait around for elevators to take you up and down, which takes forever. The Easter egg is pretty bad too, as it has you and your teammates standing on elevators, and all the mahjong tile bullshit is very dumb, and the solidifier is a good weapon, but it just is on a terrible map. And the fact that you can slip on it and fall off the map is unforgivable. Who's Who is another terrible perk they added in BO2, and it's a worse version of Quick Revive, which is still on this map for some reason. Features on Die Rise just make this map near unplayable, and I don't have any ironic or stupid fun playing this map like I do on Transit. But at least I can actually traverse the map and see 2 feet in front of me, which gives it the slight edge over Transit. Now I get to talk about another Exo Zombies map, that being Descent. I really want to like this map, but everything about it just makes me super annoyed. While I like the setting of an underwater facility, the map's layout makes it feel super generic, as it's basically just 2 corridors that lead to different rooms and 1 big vertically inclined room. And it basically forces you to use your exosuit. And let me tell you, it's real fun when the game decides to spawn in several EMZ zombies and you get no exosuit for basically the entire round. Not only that, but I despise this Easter egg. It's unnecessarily difficult for no reason. And I don't mind an Easter egg being difficult, but the steps are difficult in the wrong way. First, you have to basically use all the ammo in your guns to turn some valves. Then, you have to wait for an Iron Man suit to spawn in so you can get outside the map, which I can admit is pretty cool. The challenges, however, are really stupid and difficult, as they force you to only use grenades, stand still or you lose money, and shoot drones that have way too much health. The map doesn't even end with a proper boss fight, as the boss of the map, Oz, shows up on rounds 13 and 20, and you only fight him twice, once where he just sets up some traps that are easy to avoid, and another where he actually attacks you in his Hulk form. The fight itself is very boring too, because you're just waiting for him to become vulnerable for your attacks, so it ends up being a long waiting simulator, just waiting for me to do damage to him. The wonder weapon, the Trident, is also underwhelming and feels like it could have been better. Descent isn't the worst map ever, but it certainly doesn't make me want to replay it anytime soon. Up next is the previous Exo Zombies map, Carrier. Carrier is a map that I have mixed feelings on because on one hand, I really enjoy some of the Easter egg steps and the map layout, but on the other hand, it has some obnoxious steps and some really tight rooms where you can easily get cornered. The only open areas in this map are the area where you get your exosuit and the Shark Tank room, so training is very limited. The wonder weapon, the LZ Limbo, is cool in concept, but unless you're constantly packy punching it, it will run out of ammo very quickly. And the Easter egg is half good and half not. The first step, the Pachinko step, is kind of creative, but it can be annoying if you don't know what order to throw your grenades in, or if you just suck at timing like I do. While I really like the drunk laser step too, I can also see why many others find it annoying, and while I think it's very creative, it can be frustrating. One step I find absolutely annoying is the teleporter step, which can take anywhere from 5 to 20 rounds depending on how many teleporter zombies spawn in the map. And even when the teleporter is active, we'll be taken to an island where you have to dig for a tablet that is way harder to find than it has any right to be. So you'll just end up blowing through more rounds trying to find it, since it only lets you teleport once per round, which I think is really dumb. I want to like Carrier as a whole, but I think it's the little flaws that just bring it down in my eyes. On to our first IW Zombies map, it's Beast from Beyond. I overall enjoy IW Zombies, as I think it's my favorite non-Treyarch Zombies mode as a whole. But Beast from Beyond, it's just really bad. First of all, you spawn into the map with an OSA, and have to fight off cryptids that deal the same damage as zombies, but are faster and smarter than them, so they will kill you if you are not paying attention. And they will keep spawning until you turn on the power, which is done by obtaining Neil's head from the bottom of a pit, which isn't hard, but the average player won't know where to look for it. So the majority of Beasts from Beyond games will be very short because the cryptids can kill you faster than your parents when they realize the chores aren't done. And the map layout itself is very basic, with generic looking sci-fi rooms that blend together, and the second part of the map that's just the theater from the beginning of the game. While it isn't anything special, it isn't terrible either, but I tell you what is terrible is the constant special zombie spawns. On certain rounds, instead of normal zombies, the game can spawn in cryptids, ninjas, clowns, and the slasher. This poses a problem because the cryptids combined with the ninjas and slasher can easily kill you, and it only gets worse the later the rounds go on. Luckily, the one saving grace is that the Easter egg on this map is short and sweet, and it only requires you to get the Entangler, grab 4 floppy disks, hack Neil, and then place his head into a computer and pack a punch. The boss fight, however, is atrocious. It's just a bunch of cryptids, which are already annoying to deal with, and 2 giant mammoths at the end, who are the spongiest enemy in all of zombies. I've done this boss fight many times, and it never gets any easier to do. Sometimes you'll have no problem, and sometimes you'll just die and die and die. Thank God the game rewards you with the best boss fight in all of zombies, Mephistopheles, afterwards. Otherwise, no one in their right mind would come back to this map. I have a theory that Infinity Ward put all their time and budget into that boss fight, and none of it into the actual Beast from Beyond map and the Mammoth boss fight. The Mephistopheles boss is the only reason to revisit this map, otherwise you're better off just skipping it. Up next is Blood of the Dead, the successor to Mob of the Dead, which is not even close to being as good as it. I remember when the community and myself were hyped up when they revealed this map, because, spoiler alert, Mob of the Dead is one of the greatest maps of all time, but we all got our hopes up too high. So you start in a new area of the map called New Industries, and in order to access the rest of the map, you have to turn on power, and then go through one of the worst experiences in all of zombies, navigating that goddamn catwalk. I guarantee you, most players got to the catwalk, died, then never played this map again. The problem is the catwalk is so narrow that you'll get stuck on zombies who are sprinting at you at 50 miles per hour, and to make things worse, they added zombie arms that can damage you as well through the walls. On top of that, once you get to the open area, they spawn hellhounds, so unless you have a really good gun or your specialist weapon, good luck getting through there without dying. Once you actually get to the Mob of the Dead portion of the map, you'll notice that there's no afterlife system. So how do you power the electric boxes? There's a shield that you can do that with now. The shield is certainly no replacement for afterlife, as you need to suck up zombie souls in order to use it, and if your shield breaks, you lose all the souls collected in it. Goodbye to your hard work. The map itself is also just way too big, and the 2 fast travel systems in place barely help you get around, so you better bring stamina up. And the Easter egg, oh boy, does this one suck, as it has some of my least favorite steps of any zombies Easter egg. The first step, you have to play hide and seek with this spirit bird to get the Chronorium back, and this wouldn't be so bad if there weren't so many spawn locations for this damn bird. And the fact that you have to do this 4 times is just unreasonable. Once you're done with that, you have to complete 5 different challenges, kind of like Gorod's Easter egg, but these challenges are much worse. The ones in the shower in Michigan Avenue aren't bad, but the other 3 are just abysmal. The New Industries challenge requires you to suck up a ghost with your shield until it turns red, which sounds simple, but trying to do this in solo with zombies surrounding you, it becomes a lot more difficult. The Powerhouse challenge has you doing Simon Says but on crack, because they give you too much to memorize and spawn zombies on you while you're doing it, which is just the best thing. And the worst offender, though, is the Docks challenge, where you have to enter in a Morse code combination, except you don't know what the combination is, so you have to just guess and hope you get it right. Granted, there are only 2 options for each combination, short or long, but it takes forever to figure out. I, for one, believe that Morse code steps in zombies is super dumb and should not exist. Once you're done with the challenges, all you gotta do is sit through a cutscene and then you're pretty much in the boss fight. At least the boss fight is piss easy, and I don't think anyone has ever died to it, and can be done in no time. This Easter egg on my first attempt took me 3.5 hours to do, and is definitely one of the longest, most time-consuming Easter eggs in all of Zombies. All these problems just drag Blood of the Dead so far down, in my opinion, and make it one of my least favorite maps in all of Zombies. I would say at this point that we're now out of the completely bad maps and into more of the neutral maps that I have mixed feelings on. These maps have some issues overall, but is still playable. I'll start this tier off with Verrückt. The World at War maps are great and all, but they just have nothing to do on them. It's not the fault of the developers, as these were the first ever Zombies map released, but it doesn't make me want to play them anymore because of it. Verrückt is probably the worst of the World at War survival maps because of its tight quarter nature, and the fact that you have barely any room to train and maneuver just makes it so you're essentially forced to camp with a strong weapon. I do like that this was the first map to add perks such as Jug, Double Tap, Quick Revive, and Speed Cola, as they have become iconic, but the first iteration of these perks were not great. Quick Revive doesn't actually revive you in solo, so buying it in solo is literally worthless. And Double Tap only doubled your fire rate, and not the damage of your gun. I do like the aesthetic of the map. That creepy abandoned asylum feel is very pleasing, but overall the map just feels barren. Coming in after that is the first Zombies map ever made, Nacht der Untoten. I do think that even though Nacht doesn't have perks like Verrückt does, it is a better time overall. First off, you have way more room to train on Nacht, and getting to high rounds is much easier. The mystery box is always in the same spot, and there is a good camping spot on Nacht. I could also say the same thing about Verrückt for Nacht's aesthetic, as it makes you feel on edge and like the undead is closing in on you. The one thing that kind of ruins this map is zombies in the early rounds move very slow, and it will take ages to get through rounds 1 to 6. And once you get going on Nacht, it's pretty fun, but sadly it feels pretty barren. Up next is Shino Numa, and I hate to rag on the World at War maps, but they're all pretty mid. I feel Shino Numa in particular gets overhated by the community. I think it's the second best World at War map because of two things, the Wunderwaffe and high rounding. The Wunderwaffe just feels miles better than the ray gun, since you can't kill yourself with it, and it kills way more zombies in just one shot. High rounding on Shino is also some of the best in Zombies, since you can get to round 1000, even beyond that. The only complaints that I have, the early rounds are still very slow, not as slow as Nacht, but still slower, and the water in the map makes you too slow. Also, the Hellhounds are ridiculously overpowered in World at War, and can easily kill you. I think Shino Numa is one of the better survival maps on World at War, but it still has room for improvement. Next up, I've got the Shadowed Throne from World War II Zombies. While it may not be as bad as the Tortured Path, it's still pretty bad. First off, this is an actual round-based map, and not a stupid objective map split into 3 parts. The map layout is really nothing special, as it's just 4 buildings with 2 open training spots that connect them. However, I do enjoy the Easter egg on this map to an extent. I like the idea of gathering 3 different melee weapons to open the door where the Blade of Barbarossa is. The method in which you get them is pretty cool too. As for the bat, you need to help a smuggler located underground by arming him with a gun from the wall, then paying him a small amount in order to get the bat. The axe, I would say, is pretty neat too, as it requires you to tune into a radio station that will give you a Morse code combination, and while yes, I've stated that I hate Morse code steps, at least this one doesn't have you randomly guessing the code. And it nets you a bowl, which you need to take a sizzler head to balance the scales in the museum. Then you get kills next to it to get the axe. However, the knife is a pain in the ass to acquire. The first thing you have to do is fix the projector in the theater, then go around the map and find 3 different dolls with a certain amount of kills, and make sure you're counting how many kills it takes, because that's going to be important for later. Then you have to input the numbers into a safe, rotate the dial like a safe, but this safe is really stupid, because unlike in Mallet or Toten, you aren't protected from getting hit by zombies while you're inputting the code, so doing this step in solo is near impossible. After all that, you just take the 3 weapons, put them on the wall, do the statue puzzle, which isn't that bad either, then time for boss fight. The boss is stupidly difficult, although it only takes damage when it feels like it, because half the time you feel like you're doing nothing to it. And this thing has a lot of health, so it will take a while, and you're mostly going to run out of armor and ammo by that time. The wonder weapon on the map, the Wonder Boss, isn't good either, as the beam runs out so quickly, and to refill ammo you have to use its secondary fire to suck the energy out of zombies, and it barely gives you any ammo for it. The Wonder Boss is required for the boss too, as you can't get into the Zeppelin or damage the boss in its third phase without it. The Shadow Throne is just overall underwhelming, and the Easter egg, while fun at times, can be frustrating. And up next, I have Outbreak from Cold War Zombies. And I know you guys are probably going to put in the comments, oh, didn't you say you were only going to include round-based zombies? Isn't Outbreak not round-based? Technically it is, so stop, don't comment that. Outbreak is just one of those maps that I want to enjoy, but I just can't get into. I like the idea, but the execution's kind of poor. I like the different ideas Cold War tried to put into Outbreak, like scavenging for supplies like Warzone, and the different map objectives, but overall they just get too repetitive and boring after a while. There are 8 different maps in Outbreak: Ruka, Golova, Armada, Alpine, Zoo, Duga, Sanatorium, and Collateral. And while each map provides a different aesthetic, they all just boil down to big open spaces with buildings and such strewn about, which is really odd. On every map, there's also a main objective that you have to complete, such as escorting a payload, defending a certain point, or killing a strong zombie. And there are also side objectives you complete for optional rewards, such as fighting a horde of strong zombies, shooting yellow crystals, shooting orbs to unlock a chest, or even fighting an Orda from Firebase C. These all give you great rewards like wonder weapons, gold rarity guns, pack-a-punch upgrades, or perks. The only problem with these is that you do the same objectives over and over and over again until you either die or get bored. There are 2 Easter egg quests on Outbreak 2, and one is definitely easier than the other. First Easter egg has you hunting down radios to contact Maxis, who has you find some slides for a projector, after which she tells you to go up to a bunker in Ruka, where some missiles are about to be launched. This is actually when I like the Easter egg most, because you have to gather 3 keys in the bunker to launch the missiles. One is by killing a bunch of mimics, another is found from an ethereal monkey who you trap, and the last is from a giant ethereal jellyfish. After that is the boss fight, who is honestly really difficult, but I love it. The Legion boss fight takes a lot of skill and feels rewarding when you finish it, although if you fail, you do have to replay all of Outbreak up until that point, which takes forever to get back to. Not to mention you have to set up properly for this boss, which takes even longer. On the other hand, the second Outbreak Easter egg is really easy, as all you have to do is take 3 portals, contact Ravenov, and he'll tell you to go to Sanatorium. Then you have to find a downed helicopter, which will direct you to an orb, which you then lead the orb back to the bridge, and you find an ether bunny. You take the ether bunny back to the orb, it will follow a drone into a secret area, where you'll be ambushed by an Orda and other zombies. The fact that this boss is just another Orda is like kind of weird, because you can already fight Orda in Outbreak, which is really lame. Outbreak was an ambitious idea, but I think it just gets too repetitive the more you play it, and is definitely not worth replaying a lot. Next up, ironically, is Outbreak from Exo Zombies. Outbreak is by far the best map on Exo Zombies, but it's still pretty subpar. The map layout is pretty basic, with a bunch of rooms that branch off into each other, and the only good training spots being spawned in that room to the left of spawn. The Easter egg is Exo Zombies' best though, as you have to collect 4 different key cards, and each is acquired in different ways. Though this map breaks the cardinal sin of trying to get the wonder weapon from the box, which is the EM1, which you need for one of the key cards, it requires you to hit the box and then shoot it with the EM1. One of the cards requires you to shoot a leg on the glass panel until it disappears, then use Exo Slam to slam it down and grab the card. Another has you infecting yourself on an infection round and hitting 4 buttons to grab the card. And the last one is the most annoying one, as you have to go into the trash chute and shoot the floor randomly until the card appears. And if you mess up, you have to keep going back in there until you find it. Once you have those 4 cards though, the Easter egg is basically done, as all that's left is to get 49 cards from the zombies and then find the 50th one in the map and interact with the computer. The Easter egg isn't that bad, but it's also flaws, and is miles better than all the other Exo Zombies maps. Classified from BO4 is next. This map is a remake of 5, and it does a pretty good job of being a remake, but Classified does suffer in some areas. The map is basically just 5 again with no new areas added, just slight modifications such as the way to unlock Pack-a-Punch. This map is basically a survival map too with no main Easter egg. Well, no, there is one, but it's actually fucking awful. The Easter egg requires you to get to round 150, and that's it. It's by far the hardest and longest Easter egg to complete, and I've never been able to do it myself as it takes at least 12 hours, and I don't want to go through that suffering. That's why people opt out and just do the Easter egg for the free Winter's Howl instead, as it saves you 12 hours of your life and is much easier to do. Honestly, most of the improvements from 5 are because of the Black Ops 4 engine and not the actual map itself. In my opinion, I still think 5 is a better map because it's more challenging and more fun, but Classified, if you own BO4, is still a solid option. Up next, in my opinion, is one of the better survival maps, Nuketown. Now I know a lot of people hate Nuketown because blah blah blah, don't get jugged till round 20, blah blah blah, but I'm telling you, you're wrong. I actually really enjoy the challenge that comes from the random perk drops, and it adds replayability to the map because you never know what perk you'll get. Plus, if you can't appreciate zombies without using Jug, then I think it's just a skill issue, my guy. I also like the fact that they made Nuketown into a zombies map at all, since it's one of the most iconic multiplayer maps of all time. Sure, the map itself was ripped straight out of multiplayer, but I wouldn't expect any more, and that's all it really needs to be. If it's a barebones survival map you want, then I would give Nuketown Zombies a try, no matter what the naysayers say. Attack of the Radioactive Thing is next. This is another map that I feel gets too much hate, because honestly, it's a pretty solid map. Sure, the 60s aesthetic in Elvira can get on your nerves from times, but it lovingly recreates the feel of the 60s. I also love how people say the map being in black and white is an issue when it's only in black and white for maybe a round or two. Like when you open up the first 2 doors, it becomes color. Also, Ascension is in black and white for the first few rounds, and you don't bitch about that either. The map has 4 areas that connect with different roads, and they all lead back to each other fluently. I like that you have to get the power switch from the beach and then bring it back to the power station, as it encourages exploration. I will agree that the Wonder Weapon is underpowered, but for what it is, it technically has unlimited ammo, since you can refill it from the green pods. The Easter egg is mostly good up until the dreaded chemical step that everyone hates. I like having to collect all the items for the zombie, the chem set, and the mirrors though. While I agree that having to flip through the colors of the map to find the right number and noting down all the signs in that color is very annoying, it is still fun trying to figure out all the necessary ingredients and your solutions for the chemical. The boss fight is also really good. Having to escort the bomb while you're under attack is interesting. Then you have to shoot down the radioactive thing and survive until you eventually traverse a laser maze and go inside of him to detonate the bomb. It is definitely one of the most unique boss fights in all of Zombies because it's not just a boss you have to shoot a lot until it's dead, just like every other boss fight. Overall, Attack of the Radioactive Thing is not as bad as people make it out to be, but it is still one of the least favorable maps on IW. Now we get to the first Black Ops 1 map on our tier list, and that is Ascension. It's definitely a fun map, but there are some flaws that hold it back from being really good. The monkeys, for one, are annoying to deal with if you have more than one perk, as you are pretty much guaranteed to lose a perk because you can't defend them all. The Easter egg is not great either, as you just hit some buttons, take the lunar landers, and the fact that you need the Thunder Gun, Gersh device, and the Ray Gun to do the last step is ridiculous. However, this is the map that introduced PhD and Stamina, which are some of the best perks of all time, and while the Thunder Gun was on Kino, I feel it better fits on this map with the space aesthetic. Certainly not a bad map, but overall just pretty mid. Just above Ascension is Kino der Toten. This is just my opinion, but Kino is definitely overrated by the community. Like, it's a fun map, guys, but don't hype it up like it's the best map of all time. Plus, there are some issues I have with this map, like the constantly spawning Nova Crawlers, which are not only hard to hit, but when you do kill, they leave behind gas clouds that damage you. I've never liked the Nova Crawlers in any map they were in, and certainly not here. Also, there's only 2 good training spots on this map, the alley and the stage, so good luck playing with 4 people. They didn't introduce one of the best wonder weapons of all time though, with the Thunder Gun. But the BO1 Thunder Gun sometimes just won't kill the zombies, and it doesn't make drops, so it's not the best. They did fix this issue in Zombie Chronicles, but I'm only talking about the original BO1 version. Kino didn't innovate much more from Der Riese either, it's pretty much just Der Riese 2 in some ways. Although I do still enjoy playing Kino, as it definitely has been overhyped over the time, but it's still a fun map. Another BO1 map is next, and that's 5. 5 in my opinion is leagues better than Classified, and actually presents a challenge. Besides that iconic opening cutscene, which me and my brothers still quote all the time, 5 is home to a unique setting in the Pentagon. The layout makes it flow well too, as the 3 floors are all easy to get to with the teleporters or the elevator. And getting to Pack-a-Punch is easy to do as well. Yes, there are Nova crawlers on this map, but they aren't as annoying as Kino's since they're only on the basement floor. The Pentagon Thief also appears on this map, and he does take your guns and cuck you good, but if you kill him before he does that, you get the best power-up on the map, which is the Bonfire Sale, which makes Pack-a-Punch way cheaper. Even if he does take your gun, you still get a fire sale if you kill him. The only issues I have with this are underwhelming Wonder Weapon in the Winter's Howl, and the lack of training spots as the War Room is the only viable training spot. Overall, a solid map with a great cast of characters and a memorable locale. This next one I might get some looks for, but I really don't care. It's the Darkest Shore. I actually really enjoy the Darkest Shore, even though people complain about the fog. It's not there for that long, and only during the times the Meister Mucler shows up. And, newsflash, the fog on transit is way worse, so shut your fucking dick. The map also has a very creepy aesthetic that I really like, and it shows the mysterious nature of the island as it feels like we shouldn't be here. I will agree that the Wonder Weapon, even if you could call it that, is very bad. The Ripsaw, even though it's only a melee weapon, is still terrible. The Easter egg is surprisingly solid though, as you have to find a bunch of parts to repair a radio and a corpse gate, then it throws you into a pretty challenging lockdown with fire everywhere. You shoot down both planes and ships, and then you gather 3 Sons of Nerthus to perform 3 rituals for each of the special zombies on the map. The rituals are fairly balanced, but the hardest is definitely the Pest one, because you have to line up the shots for the Ripsaw just right. The Whistling one is also pretty difficult in solo though. The Pummel Barbarossa is an okay tactical grenade as it stuns zombies in its radius. The boss fight is really difficult though, as 4 Meister Muclers are bullet sponges and can shred through your armor. It's definitely one of the hardest Easter eggs in World War II Zombies, and one of the better maps as well, in my opinion. I have Shangri-La as my next map. I know I put Shangri-La above Kino and Ascension, but honestly it's a pretty underrated map. The monkeys on this map aren't nearly as annoying as the Ascension monkeys, and you can get free perks from them too. The Shriekers and the Napalm zombies aren't that troublesome either, and the Napalm can even help you kill other zombies. The Wonder Weapon, the Baby Gun, is one of the best we'll ever see in zombies, as it's infinite damage and can clear out a horde in one shot. I will agree that the Easter egg and lack of training spots is a big problem with this map. I also forgot to mention this for Ascension, but I do hate Easter eggs that require you to have 4 people, as many players don't have 4 people to do these eggs with. The Easter egg itself is pretty unique though, as you have to help Brock and Gary through the tunnels by solving puzzles, like stepping on stones, letting a napalm zombie burn some gasoline pipes, and shrinking the meteor with the baby gun to acquire the focusing stone. Even though I like the idea that the Easter egg is repeatable so everyone can get Perkaholic, I just think it should give everyone all the perks. Shangri-La doesn't deserve all the hate it gets, but I can see why it isn't most people's cup of tea. And up next is Town. Town is one of the best survival maps in all of Zombies. The map has a good layout, with Pack-a-Punch being situated in the middle of the lava pit, and it doesn't hurt you that much, so you can just go in, pack, and then get right back out. Unlike Farm and Bust Depot, this map has everything you could need to survive, and provides a good challenge for experienced players and newbies. Overall, Town is just a good survival map, and doesn't offer much compared to what's to come, but it's still a good map. Next is Derice. Derice is just a really solid map all around, with the introduction of Pack-a-Punch and Monkey Bombs, which are zombie staples to this day. It has a very iconic camping spot on the catwalk as well, and a good training spot below the catwalk. It also had the very first Zombies Easter egg, which was the Fly Trap. I can see why it's everyone's favorite World at War map, but it still doesn't quite reach the upper echelons of maps that I would put higher above it. Slightly better than Derice is its counterpart, the Giant. The BO3 mechanics alone just make this map so much better than Derice, such as Gobblegums, better weapons, and better perks. I forgot to address this for Derice, but it also had a glitch where if you had Jug, and you used the Wonder Waff, and shocked yourself, you would just lose Jug. Like, that's cool game. I didn't need it anyway. In BO3, they fixed that, and the Wonder Waff is still good in that game. There's not much to say about the Giant, just a better version of Derice overall. Alright, if my Darkest Shore pick didn't piss you off, then this one might. My next up is Frozen Dawn from World War II. Honestly, I've come to really enjoy this map over time. It's a pretty good finale to World War II Zombies, as it has a good Easter egg, good wonder weapons, and a good boss fight. This map takes notes from Origins, as it has 4 elemental wonder weapons, and they're all melee weapons, and they're all good. Well, maybe except for the shield. The hammer basically acts like Mjolnir, where you can throw it and will come back to you. You can teleport away from danger with the flail, and the scythe allows you to cheat death and cheese the boss, so I love that. The quest to get these weapons isn't too complicated either, as you figure them out easily, and the Easter egg is just building and upgrading the 4 wonder weapons. The boss fight is solid as well, as it incorporates the wonder weapons in it. You need the hammer to take down the shields the zombies have, and the flail to dodge the incoming fire he throws. The Frozen Dawn, in my opinion, is just an underrated map, and I think it's one of World War II's best. I want to see it talked about more often. On to another Cold War map in our tier list, and that's Firebase C. I think all the Cold War maps are good, but Firebase C left the smallest impact on me. I remember playing this map on launch and not enjoying it, but replaying it again recently left me with a new appreciation for it. The map layout is solid, even though I don't enjoy going back and forth from the base to Pack-a-Punch, and the wonder weapon, the Raid K, is really fun to use. Although, building it is kind of a pain in the ass, because I can never get the dartboard step done right. The Easter egg is quite enjoyable too, well, except for that damn mimic step. We all know how annoying that is. I know how to do it, but getting the mimic's health down without killing it is easier said than done. And finding the Ethereum canisters and shooting the laser is cool, and I think the ore to fight was a cool idea, but the thing is super easy to kill and should be definitely more difficult. If he had a bit more health and some extra attacks, I think the fight would be better. Firebase C is just an overall good time with some minor flaws holding it back from perfection. Next is the latest Zombies map, not including Shattered Veil because it didn't come out yet, that being The Tomb. Now this map is interesting because on one hand I like the aesthetic and flow of the map, but on the other hand I think they could have done more with it. The map feels a little too small and constricted with only a few training areas and things to help you like the Ethereum lamps. Although bringing back the Ice Staff was a good move for this map because of the crowded spaces it allows you to camp in certain spots. The Ice Staff is still just as good as it was back in Origins, and the build and upgrade process isn't too bad either. To build it, you basically have to do 3 lockdowns where you're killing zombies and defending a point, and to upgrade it, you just have to shoot 3 lamps with the staff, find 3 symbols to enter a portal, and follow an orb around, and then you're done. These steps are also integrated into the actual Easter egg, so you have to upgrade the staff and then do the 4 trials of killing certain special zombies, and then it's time for boss. The boss fight is really challenging too. At first, I thought it was going to be pretty easy, but it gets harder the further you progress, which is an interesting way to do the boss. Although I will say that the zombies that hold the Sentinel artifact should do less damage, because if they hit you, they pretty much kill you instantly. Other than that, solid boss fight and pretty good map, and I hope that the maps in BO6 keep getting better and better. Next is the finale of Cold War Zombies, Forsaken. For the final map of this game, I think Forsaken isn't bad, but could be better. The map layout is kind of generic and weird, as it's just 2 streets, a bunker, a tower with teleporters and zip lines connecting them. It's not awful, it just feels like there's something missing. And also, didn't need every single special zombie to spawn on this map. Like, it's too much. That's what Outbreak was for, but shoving in all these zombies types into a smaller map feels unfair at times. The Wonder Weapon definitely makes up for that though, since it can kill anything with ease, and the Crystal Axe is just too good on its own. Or at least the melee form is, since it refills your armor with every kill, and the gun form is just okay. Building it isn't too bad either, since the crystals you need are pretty easily obtained just from killing a Tormentor with a flamethrower, killing a bunch of enemies, and getting an Abomination to laser one of the smaller crystals. This Wonder Weapon process is also integrated into the Easter egg, since you'll need the Crystal Axe to break the big crystals around the map and feed them to the Abomination. Getting the parts to the Ethereum Neutralizer isn't bad either, since all it requires is a lockdown, getting an RCXD to break a shelf, and getting an Abomination to run into a wall. I also enjoy the pre-boss escort, where you have to gather crystals to power up the neutralizer. The boss fight itself is very underwhelming though for a final boss, since all you have to do is break his armor pieces, then charge up Maxis to power up the cannon, and watch his health melt as you use the cannon. Do this 4 times and it's over. It's really easy. Never died on it, and I don't expect anyone to die on it. Forsaken isn't a terrible finale to Cold War, as it sets up BO6 pretty well, but it could have been better. Next up is Call of the Dead, and I'm sorry Mr. TLX5, but it's not a top tier map like you think it is. While there are some flaws with the map, I still think it's a worthwhile experience since the map layout is really smooth with the zip lines and flingers able to get you places quickly, and the water doesn't slow you down too much. This is also the first map where we got to play as a celebrity cast of characters such as Michael Rooker, Robert England, Danny Trejo, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Of course, you also can't talk about this map without mentioning George Romero as a boss zombie. I do find it annoying that he is constantly chasing you, but I also find it rewarding and satisfying when you are able to kill him. The Easter egg on this map is pretty good as well, as you chucking grenades to certain generators around the map, interacting with foghorns to make a boat rise out of the water, and catching a bottle of vodka. The only steps I don't enjoy are the stupid dial step, and the last step where you need the VR-11, an explosive weapon to kill the human before you reach the top of the lighthouse. I don't like requiring a wonder weapon from the box, and a bad one at that. The VR-11 and the Scavenger are both kinda bad, especially the VR-11 as I don't even know how it's considered a wonder weapon. The Scavenger is pretty decent except for the fact that you basically need PhD to not die from it. This map does have some glaring issues, but I don't see why many people dislike it because I think it's rather good. Just after that is the ends of the Ether storyline, Tagged or Toten. I do think Tag is slightly better than Call of the Dead for a few reasons. 1, the Easter egg is way better, and 2, it's even easier to traverse the map, and 3, it has better wonder weapons on it. The Easter egg is a clear improvement from its predecessor, as it's all about constructing the Agarthan device. You have to gather the Vril Vessel, tame the Apothecon Blood, and get the Elemental Shard. This requires you to collect body parts, turn dials, heat and cool soapstones, throw snowballs at orbs, and put the Agarthan device in the Pack-a-Punch machines. The final encounter on the map, because it's not actually a boss, is really cool as well. The area becomes a hellscape in which you must sit in the orb that the Agarthan device creates and kill zombies to power it up, and all the water turns into lava, so it adds extra tension from that. The map itself is easier to get around than ever since there are 2 flingers, many zip lines, and you can make a heat pack to resist the slowing effects of the cold water. It improves upon Call of the Dead's design in every way possible, and the other thing that was improved slightly was the wonder weapons. The Thunder Gun's back on this map, and it's still really good. And they introduced the Tundra Gun that shoots snow instead, and that one's pretty bad, but it's still better than the VR-11. And lastly is the Wonder WAW Sharpshooter, which is also pretty awful, but it can still kill pretty good. I know that basically everyone shit on the ending of the Ether storyline and was like, oh, this isn't how zombies should have ended, it should have ended with the Great War map. But, I mean, as an ending, it was okay, and this map is still pretty good as a whole, and it shouldn't be judged based on the ending. Next is the map that preceded Tagged or Toten, Alpha Omega. I know people are really gonna be like, what? Alpha Omega is this high? Yes. And I actually really enjoy this map. Since the original Nuketown Zombies was just a pure survival map, I think this is what we needed. We needed a remake of this map, and Alpha Omega did a pretty good job of that. First of all, character selection can be anyone from Primus or Ultimus, so you get some really good interactions between them on the map. The map design itself is nothing special since they could only go off of what the original gave them, but the additions to it like the bunker and the APD were done very well. Because trust me, we had all wondered what was in the bunker because Marlton was hiding in there in the original Nuketown. Now we get to see for ourselves. The only annoying part is getting to Pack-a-Punch because the vents, even though you clear them, can be reblocked later, and then you have to unblock them again, which gets annoying. Unlike most people, I actually enjoy the different variants for the Mark II. I think they add a uniqueness to the wonder weapon we've seen several times before. The beam variant and the rapid fire variant are the superior ones, but they're all pretty good in their own way. The Easter egg is very good as well, since you have to do 5 different tasks for Rushmore, and they're all simple to do. One requires you to escort a Nova Crawler to the area, another has you activating an Atom unit to scare Marlton into giving you a canister of 115, the third has you teleporting to get the server installed into Rushmore, another has you turning on the power again, and the last has you do 3 different lockdowns and escorting an orb. The boss fight is also against Avogadro from Transit, but not exactly since you can't really kill him, you can only kill Atom units to power up the canisters to recontain him. But I mean, it's still a cool concept for a boss. It's still a pretty challenging fight, and it makes for a good finale to the map. I honestly don't understand why people dislike this map as much as they do. I think it's a very solid map. You'd think it killed their dog in the way they hate it, but Alpha Omega is a great remake of a classic map and should be appreciated as such. Up next is another IW map, Raven the Redwoods. While this map is not nearly as good as Spaceland, which we'll cover later on, it still has some good qualities to it. I love the 90s aesthetic of the map, and the colors and setting really makes it feel like an abandoned rave at a summer camp. Having Kevin Smith as a celebrity guest was also a good move, as he was at the height of his popularity in the 90s, although I don't like the direction they went with him later. We'll discuss that with the Easter egg. The map layout is solid, as you have a looping circle that leads back to the cabin, which has zip lines that you can take to other parts of the map. I do think ray vision is a pretty useless mechanic since it's only really used for getting the bows, but the crazy colors of visions you see are a cool addition. Speaking of the bows, the 4 crossbows are all unique for this map, and all of them are pretty good and easy to obtain, as you simply have to charge up the statues and then get kills with the crossbow next to the statue of your choice. The Acid Rain is clearly the best one as it kills everything in its path, but they're all solid choices for high rounds or Easter egg attempts. Speaking of the Easter egg, let's get into that. It's really short but sweet. All you have to do is pick up 3 pieces of Kevin's memories and do a ritual where you shoot off zombie arms, legs, and then heads, and then press a button and it's time for boss. Easy as that. The boss fight is up against the Super Slasher, aka Kevin Smith, which is fairly easy to do and understand since you have to fill up 2 skulls with souls, then have him stand in the circle it creates and shoot the weak point on his body. Do this 3 times and he's done for. Overall, Rave isn't a bad map, it's just not nearly as great as its predecessor. I know this might shock some people, but up next I have Shaolin Shuffle. I know a lot of people dislike this map, but honestly I don't get it. Like, I really enjoy the aesthetic of New York City and its trashy look, the map's wonder weapons, and the Easter egg to an extent. Just like the other IW map, Shaolin portrays 70s style New York perfectly. From the dojo to the disco to the dirty subways, it's got it all. There's 2 wonder weapons on the map as well. One is the nunchucks, which can be obtained from the box, and the other is the katana, which you can buy off the wall once you complete the Easter egg. They both function pretty similarly as they're both melee wonder weapons, but they stand out in their own ways. The nunchucks give a shockwave effect when you pack a punch, killing more than 1 zombie in the area, and the katana gets 2 different effects that come from it. One is a line of spikes, and the other is a panther head that shoots out of it. The different chis of Kung Fu are unique too, as they allow you to do different special moves once you upgrade them. My favorite one is probably Tiger, since you get a vortex that sucks in and kills zombies, and a ground pound that can clear an entire horde of zombies. The Easter egg, while not being my favorite, has some cool steps to it. I like the disco step where you have to kill a zombie on the dance floor of the Disco Inferno, and it passes the disco ball into the next zombie. I also like the step where you kill zombies in the yellow circle, but the circle is really small, so you have to be careful. Other steps can be annoying, like the hangman step where you guess a word, but the letters are just different symbols that you need a cipher to figure out, and it all gets very fucking confusing. It also has one of my least favorite steps, which is the Morse code step, since you know how I feel about Morse code and zombies. It makes up for it for having a lackluster Easter egg though in its boss fights, which is unique since you not only need to damage the Rat King, but complete 3 challenges as well. One has you killing zombies in pools of acid that hurt you after a bit, another has you shooting Rat King symbols on the walls, and the final one has you basically doing nothing until it's over. It's an interesting concept that I've never seen done in a boss fight before though. I know Shaolin can be a mixed bag of fun for most people, but I genuinely have fun playing it, and it's one of the better IW Zombies maps in my opinion. Coming up next is the finale of Black Ops 3 Zombies, Revelations. This map is the worst of the best, because BO3 has some of the greatest maps in all of Zombies, but Revelations was just kinda disappointing. The map is just a bunch of other maps meshed together, and they connect via launch pads and teleporters in a circle, which is nothing special, but it is cool to see all these iconic maps melded with each other. It has parts of Shangri-La, Dirac, Kino, Varuk, Mob of the Dead, Origins, and Nocturne Totem. It is definitely a fan service map more than anything, but it's good fan service. They also recycle old wonder weapons for this map, like the Apothicon Servant and Thunder Gun. However, you are actually able to pack-a-punch the Apothicon Servant this time, unlike in Shadows of Evil. It does require you to shoot blue rocks around the map with the Servant to be able to pack-a-punch it, which is really weird, but still kind of cool. And the Easter egg in Revelations is overall good, with a few flaws. It does require you to get the Apothicon Servant and Little Arnie's from the box, which can be annoying if you don't get good luck. And the first step has you shooting gravestones in the order which the Ultimus crew's parts died. So Richtofen, Dempsey, Takeo, Nikolai. Then you have to defend the Keeper as he does a ritual for a few minutes, which isn't terrible. The next step is kind of annoying though. It requires you to blow through little Arnies inside these holes in the giant Apothicon, but you will never have enough Arnies as there are 9 holes and you have to wait for a max ammo to spawn before you leave the Apothicon, otherwise the step just resets, which is very, very bad. The next step is the infamous rock step, which took the zombies community ages to figure out, but it's simple if you know what to do. You have to shoot at certain rocks around the map with a pack-a-punched weapon, then you shoot a bone that comes out of it with the Apothicon servant. After that, you must collect 4 eggs in each area of the map and take them into the Apothicon, hatch them into worms, and they will help you find the symbols to enter the boss fight, or at least the first part of the boss fight. In the first part, you'll just fight a bunch of Margwas and other enemies while surviving 4 elemental settings, them being lightning, void, fire, and anti-gravity. And once you are done with that, you pick up the summoning key for the next step. You then take the summoning key around the map and throw it at different objects, and you head back into the boss fight to face the Shadow Man. Which this fight is just a carbon copy of the one in Shadows of Evil, where you fill up the summoning key, throw it at Sophia, and the Shadow Man can be shot into the Apothecon's mouth and sealed using the Chronorium. Revelations wasn't a bad end to BO3, but it's certainly better than BO4's ending. It just doesn't bring the innovation that the rest of BO3's maps brought, so it kind of gets forgotten a little in all the shuffle. Next is the finale of Black Ops 1 Zombies, Moon. Moon is probably the most divisive map in all of BO1. You either love it or you hate it. I actually love it because I've never seen such a unique setting for a zombies map and probably never will. Although I'm not a fan of starting at Groom Lake and then teleporting there, I guess it does explain how you get to the moon in the first place. Pack-a-Punch is also at Groom Lake, which makes it harder to safely pack your weapons because of the constant zombie spawns, which is a bit annoying when you're trying to pack your guns. Once you actually get to Griffin Station though, it's very cool to explore and it has some good training spots such as the Biodome and outside the teleporter to Groom Lake. Things can get a little cramped and confined though, such as in the lab area where they spawn in teleporting Nova Crawlers, which are even more annoying than the ones on Kino and 5. The Wonder Weapon is unique as well. It's a dual-wield zap gun that can combine and turn into the wave gun. Zap guns are nothing amazing since they only kill one zombie at a time, it can be hard to hit with it, but the wave gun is amazing and can take out an entire horde with a single shot. The only problem with the wave gun, at least on BO1, is it doesn't make any drops when you kill zombies, so no max ammos, no nukes, no nothing. The Easter egg is okay, but I don't like that it relies mostly on RNG, as you need the wave gun, Gersh device, and QEDs from the box, and you need the excavator to hit Tunnel 6. And waiting for all that to happen can either take 2 minutes or 2 hours, depending on your game. The other steps aren't bad though, as you have to play Simon Says with the computers, hack the panels in the labs, throw a Gersh and QED at the panels, shoot a ball until it reaches the MPD, fill up a canister with souls, and that will allow whoever is playing as Richtofen to swap souls with Samantha. And that's very cool since you get to hear Samantha voice lines instead of Richtofen. And you hear Richtofen as the announcer for power-ups and quotes. After that, you just have to play Simon Says 3 times to ready the rocket and launch at the Earth, and blow it up, which is the coolest finale to any Zombies Easter egg. So even though Moon has its flaws, it's a fun experience that I think most people would enjoy. Next up is the first Chaos map in my ranking, which is Dead of the Night. I see Dead of the Night as a great zombies map, as I enjoyed most of the things it has to offer. The overall setting of the map is very interesting, as it's a mansion which has been taken over by supernatural forces, not just zombies, but werewolves, vampires, and ghosts. I like it when zombies tries to go beyond the idea of just zombies and bring in other supernatural elements. The map itself is split up into 4 different areas: the graveyard, the mansion, the greenhouse, and the forest. And the structure of the map is very similar to other maps like Doris and Goral Krovi. The wonder weapon of this map, the Alistair's Folly, is a powerful and unique weapon that can be upgraded twice into the Alistair's Annihilator. And the upgrade process isn't too grueling either, as you just have to gather 3 different forms of Prima Materia and 2 different mechanical parts, which aren't hard to obtain and are integrated into the Easter egg very well. Speaking of the Easter egg, this one's a bit cryptic and hard to figure out. So first you have to fill the 3 crystals with Pack-a-Punch, go back and look them again to reveal new visions. These let you shoot a spire at the graveyard with silver bullets to reveal a laser puzzle, and the puzzle itself isn't too difficult to figure out, but what comes after that's tricky. You must find 3 zodiac symbols around the mansion and 3 different scratch marks in the area where you found the symbol. You note down the symbol, the amount of scratch marks, and enter them into the telescope in the greenhouse to reveal the first stone. The only problem is if you don't know where the scratch marks are, you're going to have a bad time. The other 2 stones aren't that bad though. The second one has you collecting branches to form a wicker man, and then you must shoot the Alistair's Annihilator until you get the fire shot, which will send you into a ghostly form where you must search for a ghost around the mansion and bring it to the graveyard. And the last stone has you fixing the fire gates and shooting them with Alistair's Annihilator, and lighting certain fireplaces with blue fire on your shield to find gemstones. You take those gemstones, you put them in the knight statues, you guide them around to one another, and you take them to the forest, fill the knights with souls, and reveal the last stone. After that, you just have to do 3 separate lockdowns, and the boss fight will be ready. The boss of this map is a giant werewolf who's invisible until you shine 3 lights on a square, and then you can reveal and damage him. Not a terrible boss fight, but nothing too interesting, but I like the lights that you have to move onto the square. People like Noah J hate this map, and although it had probably the worst launch in advertising for any COD Zombies map in history, it is still a fun time and is worth playing. Next up is the launch map of Cold War, D Machine. I played Cold War at launch, and D Machine was a pretty good map to start off with for both new and experienced players. The map is pretty basic, as Nocturne Toad is literally in the map as the main building, and underneath is the bunker where the particle accelerator is. The bunker connects back to the above area of the map in a circle, plenty of good training spots, and good camping spot on top of Noct. The wonder weapon is integrated into the Easter egg since it requires you to kill a megaton and find the remote for the weapon and get zombie kills in front of the door with it. The DIE is a pretty good wonder weapon as it shoots a shockwave of energy that kills anything in front of you. Along with the base variant, it has 4 elemental upgrades that are also required in the Easter egg: the ice, electric, fire, and poison variants. The only one that is worth using though is the electric variants, because the rest are really kind of bad. And the Easter egg is pretty good for the map it's on. It requires you to get the DIE and its 4 upgrades, go into the dark ether to find visions of certain people, find a golden ball to operate the decontamination machine, get a megaton to step into the machine, and then it's time for boss fight. Well, I say boss fight, but it's more of a final encounter than a boss, because all you're doing is protecting Orlov while he shuts down the particle accelerator. And you can't even lose unless you go down, because Orlov will not die at all. It's a really easy Easter egg to complete for beginners, then after that you just exfil while avoiding some big lasers, and that's it. This was a great start to Cold War Zombies and shows that even though a map is simple, simplicity makes a great map sometimes. Alright, now we're into the great and masterpiece tier maps that define zombies and are a pleasure to play. I'll start off this tier with a very controversial pick that I enjoy very much, but I don't know many people that do, and the map is Voyage of Despair. I know I'm crazy for putting this map so high, but I really don't care. I love this map. The idea of a map set on the Titanic is ingenious, and although people will say the idea was underutilized, which I kind of agree with, I still think the idea was great. The map layout is very cramped, as it would be on a ship, but there are still some good training areas, such as the poop deck, the front of the ship, the back of the ship, or the dining room. The wonder weapon, the Kraken, is definitely underpowered, but the elemental upgrades actually make it usable. The Ice Kraken is very useful in the boss fight, as it slows down zombies. The Electric Kraken is used for high round attempts, and the Acid Kraken is needed for the Easter egg. The Easter egg is where many people think it missed the mark, since it has nothing to do with the Titanic, but I enjoy doing the Easter egg. The first step is kind of dumb, since you have to match up the times on the clocks with the dials on the ship, which can be annoying. The second step is cool though, since you have to kill a specific catalyst next to an electric outlet, and then do 4 different lockdowns based on the catalyst that you killed. Then you have to use the Acid Kraken to break pipes in the engine room to flood it again, and then you pack a punch the Sentinel artifact. Then on to everyone's favorite step, which is the planet step, which is actually my favorite step. I find it unique that you have to shoot the planets out of the sky and collect the essence they drop. I guess if you don't know what planets are which, it could be difficult, but anyone who has a basic understanding of astronomy can do this step. Lastly, you have to break big pieces of ice in order to get to the back of the ship, where you can start the boss fight. The boss fight is also one of the best we've ever had in Zombies, as it's pretty difficult and has 5 phases. 2 of them are just surviving against Stokers and Blightfathers, but the last 3 have you actually shooting the eye before it freezes you with its ice blast. So the final phase also has a wipe move that will insta-kill you if you don't deal enough damage to it. But overall, I really enjoy what the map has to offer, even though it missed some of its full potential and could have been one of the GOATs, but it's just slightly missed the mark. Up next is another Black Ops 6 map, which is Liberty Falls. Liberty Falls is kind of similar to D Machine in that it's a simpler launch map, and it's a map that anyone can jump into and understand, and even complete the Easter egg with directive mode. The aesthetic and the layout of the map is simple but effective, as it branches off into 2 paths to get to the church where Pack-a-Punch is. It's set in the town of Liberty Falls, Virginia, where the Dark Ether has taken over and caused chaos. There's plenty of good training spots, such as the area outside the bank, the area outside the bowling alley, and the graveyard. The wonder weapon is one we have seen before, but much improved than its predecessor, the jet gun. The jet gun on transit was a piece of shit that broke after you used it too much. However, on Liberty Falls it is much better, since when you use it, instead of breaking, it just has to cool down and then the ammo gets refilled automatically. It also has a new secondary fire where you can use up all the ammo in it and release a shockwave of fire that burns enemies nearby. The Easter egg is very simple as well, but good, and has you crafting the jet gun, crafting the LTG, summoning a special zombie to fill the ether canister with, calibrating machines around the map with the Strauss counter, and filling another canister. The boss fight is like D Machine, where it's more of a final encounter where you just kill zombies to charge the STG. and they spawn in a special Mangler and Abomination as well, and they're pretty tanky. It's a good starter map for people just getting into zombies, but also good for people who are experienced at zombies, and definitely one of Black Ops 6's best. Next is the best map with the Victus crew, which is Buried. Buried has so much personality and life to it, and it just fits the aesthetic of an underground mining town to the T. The map has a bunch of different buildings you can enter to find parts for traps, Leroy, and the Easter egg. Speaking of Leroy, you can use booze and candy to make him do many helpful things on the map, like open doors, make shortcuts, keep the mystery box in one place, or craft traps for you. Things start to ramp up though once you enter the witch's house, as you have to stop the witches from taking all your precious cash, just like any other woman. And there's one more obstacle before Pack-a-Punch through a hedge maze, which is admittedly easy to navigate, especially with the wonder weapon, but serves as a fun challenge before you get to Pack. The wonder weapon on this map is very unique, the Paralyzer, as it allows you to slow zombies' movement and eventually kill them, and you can fly over walls and up to buildings too. Admittedly, there aren't a lot of training spots on Buried, but it's a great map for camping near Juggernog or on top of the bank. I'll admit the Easter egg is a little bit complicated since you need to craft either a guillotine or a gallows, charge up orbs around the map with the Paralyzer, decipher a code on the wall, travel back in time to find a switch, and the infamous sharpshooter step that is probably the best part of the Easter egg in my opinion. BO2 was also the first game to have a super Easter egg. If you did Transit and Die Rise, you get a special cutscene depending on whose side you did, Richtofen or Maxis. All of this makes Buried the de facto best Victus map, and a map that I come back to and play fairly often. Next up is the best World War II map, which is Final Reich. There seems to be a trend in non-Treyarch games where the first map is usually the best map, and the DLC season just gets worse over time. Final Reich is a great way to experience World War II zombies for both beginners and experienced players. The map layout is straightforward, with the outside of the town being connected to different parts of the bunker. It feels like every part of the map serves a purpose as well, and there's different places to turn on the power at and do objectives for Pack-a-Punch and the Easter egg. Speaking of the Easter egg, this map has technically two of them, the casual and the hardcore versions. While both the versions share similarities, the hardcore version has you doing a little bit more work than the casual one. Both of them start with turning on power, building the Tesla gun, activating the 3 machines of God, and the hardcore version has you upgrading the Tesla gun with 4 variants, acquiring a record, getting a sword, and inputting certain numbers into the voice of God. It doesn't sound too difficult, but it can be challenging trying to upgrade the Tesla gun. The Tesla gun itself is a decent wonder weapon, as unupgraded it can stun and kill zombies after a bit. The variants are where it shines though, as the Midnight and the Hurricane are really good against pretty much everything. The other two are disappointing in comparison though. They don't have the killing potential like the other two. Although no matter what version of the Easter egg you're doing, it ends the same way with the same boss fight, which is the Panzer Mortar, and is by far the creepiest boss we've ever seen in zombies. That thing is horrific. The only difference in the hardcore version being that the Zeppelin you need to shoot only has 1 weak spot instead of 4. The boss fight is also pretty unique, as you can't just shoot the boss to death. You have to shoot down the Zeppelin to drop a battery, which you must attach to the Panzer Mortar. Do that 3 times and he goes down. Certainly a diamond in the rough in the World War II catalog, and it deserves to be known as one of the greats. Next is my favorite Cold War map, which is Mauer der Toten. Not gonna lie, it did take me a little while to figure out the layout of this map, and I didn't necessarily fall in love with it at first, but now I see the appeal. Mauer's layout is really original, as it has you going down zip lines that connect to each major parts of the map. Then you go down into the main area of the town, which branches off again into 2 different underground areas, which lead you to the power fuse. Then you just take the zip line back up, and it leads you to Pack-a-Punch. It may be confusing for newcomers, as when I first played, it was confusing, but over time you get used to it. The wonder weapon on this map, the Cerberus, is also the best in Cold War, and one of the best and coolest in all the zombies. It is a laser pistol that has a floating and rotating ball around it that fires an extra laser shot. I mean, how cool is that? Although it does have 3 other variants for it, it's not really worth getting unless you're starving for ammo. The shotgun variant is by far the worst, as I've never really found a use for it. The swarm variant is a little better as it seeks out zombies, but I find the tracking on it to be quite poor. And the best variant is the Blazer, which fires a single continuous stream of laser. It's really easy to acquire as well, as it just requires you to fix Klaus and obtain a blacklight, find 3 numbers for you to input into a safe. You'll need the Cerberus for the Easter egg too, as you need to find 3 parts for Klaus's hacking device and upgrade Klaus, use the Blazer Cerberus to melt the wall of Valentina's lab, collect Ethereum from Tempest to use in the bomb, stop a train with Klaus to get the bomb warhead and keycard, which is really cool, and obtain and cleanse uranium in order to complete the bomb. Klaus himself is such a cool part of the map and the Easter egg, as you can command him to different locations, and he acts like the civil protector from Shadows of Evil. It's all topped off with one of Treyarch's best boss fights against Valentina, as it provides a challenge while not being too difficult if you have the right equipment. Malware provides both casual and experienced players with a good time, and is a great choice for any zombies player. Up next on my list, I have Terminus. I think the locale of an island facility in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with no escape is a very cool concept for a map. It's very reminiscent of a map like Zetsubo, except without all the plant life and just cruel and unusual experiments. The layout is mostly vertical as you go from the guard station down to the labs below. However, you can also take a boat and go to many islands around the facility, as they have some useful supplies on them. If Liberty Falls was a bright and vibrant map, then this map is the exact opposite. It's dark, dreary, and stormy, and sets the mood for a banger of a map. The one thing I gotta dock points from though is the wonder weapon. I don't particularly care for the beam smasher. Yes, it can slow zombies down, but I rarely use that feature of it, and the beam itself doesn't feel that powerful even when triple packed. I just ended up using the other weapons than the beam smasher, and it's a shame because the weapon looks cool, but it feels underpowered. However, it is required to build for the Easter egg, and luckily the build process isn't too bad, as you have to activate some computers, shoot some power boxes with dead wire, then go to 3 different islands to acquire orbs to charge the device, then you can go back and build the beam smasher. Once you have the beam smasher, you can start the Easter egg by shooting a specific tentacle trap with the wonder weapon, find a code to unlock Nathan down the labs, which starts a pretty cool mini boss fight against Nathan as he becomes a powered up version of an amalgam. Once he's dead, you have to grab some node connectors from the ship to fix the connection tubes, hack some buoys, and finally defuse some bombs before they end your game. Once you get the hang of the Easter egg, it's not hard to do, but it can be challenging on your first attempt, especially if you get to the boss fight. I think the fight against Patient 13 is one of the coolest zombies bosses we've had in a while. The boss fight requires you to be on your toes at all times. Since his tentacles shoot at you, he slams down fairly often, and you have to pay attention to the zombies as well. Patient 13 has several weak points throughout his different phases. Phase 1 has a red pimple as his weak point. Phase 2 has a mouth as his weak point, and the tentacles after a bit. Phase 3, his eyes are his weak point, and he gains a wipe attack that can down you if you're careless. Or what you can do for Phase 3 is just bring in a chopper gunner and demolish his health. Also, I love the Lovecraft-inspired design for the boss, as it reminds me of Cthulhu. Overall, Terminus is a great starter map for BO6 and is designed for more experienced players but can still be enjoyed by all. Editor's note, I know I just discussed that we weren't including Shattered Veil in this ranking, but if we were including it, it would be here since I played the map and the Easter egg fairly recently, and I do think it's a very good map and one of BO6's best. We are now entering the top 10 zombies maps of all time, and starting at number 10 is another BO6 map, that being Citadel des Morts. Honestly, when I played this map, I wasn't super thrilled at first, but after doing the swords and the Easter egg, I can appreciate it a lot more and have grown to love it. I really like the setting. Even though this isn't the first time we've seen medieval castles as a setting for a zombies map, it still has a different identity than Horizon Direct. I mean, the way you unlock the castle gates by blasting it open with a giant cannon, how cool is that? Once you're inside the castle, the layout has an upper level with statues for the swords in the lab, and the lower level is where the dungeon is. I also like that they have you fight the new enemy for the map, which is the Doppelgas, to unlock the Pack-a-Punch, although I will admit later in the rounds the Doppelgas spawns do get out of hand. On to the meat and potatoes of this map, which is probably the 4 swords, which are all very fun and cool to craft and use. My favorite sword is probably either electric or light, but I wouldn't consider any of them bad. They're all pretty simple to upgrade to. Fire Sword requires you to run while on fire 3 times back to the sword. The Void Sword has you solving a cipher and escorting orbs into a portal. Electric requires you to get 3 lightning rods, put them into a pedestal, and shock them with your sword. And finally, the Light Sword has you killing 4 glowing parasites to open the door and shooting some symbols. Just like DE though, the swords are required for the Easter egg, which involves getting all the incantations for the swords, which really isn't hard either. You just have to solve a puzzle and then fill up some souls and you're done. Then you have to find 6 symbols in the bar and go down to the dungeon, shoot those symbols to unlock a book. The book will tell you what point of power traps to activate to get the wall open. The next step is a pretty cool concept, as you have to cast your incantation in front of the proper statue and inspect your weapon, which unlocks a mystic orb. Then you complete 4 trials for all the swords, and then it's time for boss fight. This boss is also probably the most difficult fight in BO6, since he has several attacks that are deadly, like spewing lava at you, slamming his hammer down, and trying to jump on top of you. The boss is a giant statue, who is a unique boss since we usually fight a powered up zombie or something, but he gets more aggressive as he goes through his phases. Most of the cheese strategies have been patched as well, so this fight is quite difficult for experienced players, and I struggle to beat it several times as well. A great start to BO6's DLC season. I just hope that they can give us more maps as good as Citadel. At number 9, I have the Island of Despair, Zetsubo no Shima. People definitely tend to underrate this map, even though it's one of the greatest maps of all time. As time has gone on, more and more people have seen how great this map actually is. I think it's not even the worst BO3 map, as Revelations is worse in my opinion. But what makes it so great is the atmosphere of a gloomy, dark, depressing island is a perfect setting for one of the creepiest maps in Zombies. The layout of the map is really good too, as the two main areas connect to the two facilities, which turn on the power to the bunker, and the bunker is the main attraction, where you get the 3 parts to pack punch. There's also quite a lot of parts to collect on this map as well, which makes the map feel a little less empty, and all the buildables are quite useful as well, such as the gas mask, which protects you from the spores, or the shield, which can be electrified to do extra damage. I also enjoy the plant system, even though many people don't, as it rewards you for knowing what water to put on the plant, and the rewards are great, such as power-ups, perks, a free revive, or a plant that kills zombies. The wonder weapon is just as good, which is the KT4. It can also be upgraded into the Masamune. The KT4 is basically a better solidifier since it got nerfed, and is great for killing hordes and thrashers on this map. It can also make you run faster if you hit a spore with the KT4, and the Masamune is necessary for both the Easter egg and the boss fight. The Easter egg is pretty good as well, since you have to build and upgrade the KT4 and get the 3 cogs for the elevator. Granted, one of the cogs and one Masamune part, you need to do all your challenges, but that's the only annoying part of this Easter egg. There's also not one, but 2 boss fights on this map. One is the spider boss, which is pretty easy to kill, but a fun part of the Easter egg. And the Takeo boss fight, which is not great, but it's acceptable, because the real fight is really against the thrashers that spawn in, not the actual boss. Zetsubo for sure is an underrated gem, although I think more people should give it a shot if you haven't already. At number 8 is Ancient Evil, one of the best chaos maps in BO4, and one of the best maps in BO4 overall. The map is laid out in 2 areas. One is the overworld where most of the perks are, the shield, and 2 of the wonder weapons, and the other part is the underworld, where the pack-a-punches, the Pegasus Strike, and the other 2 wonder weapons. You travel between them with the portals, and I think this works for the most part, only because sometimes you can get stuck in one part of the map because you don't have the money for it. The map layout is solid, having spread out the perks and shrines so they aren't all in one place. This map, like others, has 4 wonder weapons, which are the gauntlets of Gaia, Chimera, Karen, and Oranos. Karen is my personal favorite of the weapons because you can kill an entire horde with a single shot, kind of like the KT4, but they're all pretty good. They start out weak, but you can upgrade them, and even upgrade them further with the Exalted Hands. Granted, the Exalted Hands are really hard to do, but regardless, the gauntlets are great wonder weapons. They are also integrated into the Easter egg since you need to upgrade Chimera, Karen, and Oranos for some of the steps, like shooting the statues with the Karen gauntlet, shooting shields with Gaia, giving Chimera's gauntlet to Ra to start the lockdown, and rotating the crossbow with Oranos' hand. I will say though, the first step of relighting the Eternal Flame by doing challenges is kind of annoying because you need 2 epic rarity rewards to relight it, and getting those can be time consuming. This Easter egg also has one of my favorite steps though, which is in the amphitheater where you get kills with the gauntlet. The boss fight is really epic too, as it has a cool backdrop with 3 islands that you have to go between and how the islands blow up as you progress. You also technically fight 2 bosses. The first one is Pegasus, who flies around you and you have to shoot it down with your gauntlet and hit it with your specialist weapon. And then there's Perseus, who acts the same way but comes down to fight you this time. This fight can be challenging if you come unprepared and don't bring the right elixirs. Ancient Evil is the second best BO4 map, but it didn't quite top. Number 7, 9. Now this is how you do a BO4 map right, and a launch map no less. 9's layout is almost perfect, as you can travel from the center area to any of the 4 god statue areas. From there it leads down to the dungeon where Pack-a-Punch is, and that's how you know the layout is good, when you don't need a fast travel system at all. On the other hand, the wonder weapon is pretty underpowered, but you can easily acquire it by getting the poison from the Danu tree and poisoning the mystery box. But the Death of Orion is just okay. It's a good stun wonder weapon for getting rid of Blightfathers or Gladiators, but it won't kill anything unless you spam it. The Easter egg though is great, as it requires you to appease the 4 gods in different ways, such as making and putting manure on the ground and shooting spores for Danu, shooting bullheads with the shield and killing certain zombie types for Ra, rotating lightning rods and filling them up with kilowatt kills, and surviving against a ton of gladiators for Zeus, and shooting symbols with the wonder weapon and surviving a lockdown for Odin. All these steps are fun and never tedious or boring. It is by far the BO4 Easter egg I have done the most. The boss fight is one of the best as well. It starts off slow by fighting a bunch of gladiators, but after a while the real fight begins against an elephant, a zombie elephant. You have to break its armor and then hit it a bunch until it collapses. But after that there's even more surprise as it comes out with another elephant that hits harder and has more health. This boss can be tricky for newcomers, but is overall pretty easy if you come prepared. This map will go down as one of the greats in not only BO4 but all of Zombies, and I will always come back and replay it anytime. These next few maps are as close to perfection as you can possibly get in a Zombies map. S tier Zombies experiences, and starting this off is number 6, Origins. I know, surprise, Origins isn't in my top 5 maps. I think it's good, but I do have some gripes with it, such as the Templar zombies, the glitches, and some parts of the Easter egg. I'll cover the Easter egg later, but I do want to address some of the glitches I still run into to this day. I was playing a game the other day and I was with a teammate. We were both heading toward the church, and we both hit a death barrier and ended our game for no reason. Another one I found was on the last step of the crazy place. When I was getting my kills and the wall was moving, it comes down and kills me for some reason. Like, that is bullshit. This should not be happening on a map that has been out for years and years. The map itself is really good though. The map isn't too big, even though it may feel like it sometimes, and it uses up most of the space for the Easter egg and map progression. All the generators for Pack-a-Punch are well spaced out. The only problem this map presents is the Templar zombies that come and cuck your generators when you're trying to do something else. I should not have to worry about reactivating all these generators again because I was working on something, so that's the only thing that brings it down for me. The wonder weapons are some of the best we've ever had in zombies, the 4 elemental stabs. They're pretty easy to obtain, but harder to upgrade, which makes sense. For the wind, the parts are in the robot heads. Lightning, you have to ride the tank for the parts. Ice, you have to dig them up while it's snowing. And fire, you get from the Panzer, Generator 6, and the Glowing Flame. Now, on to the Easter egg, which is both good and bad in my opinion. The first step is upgrading all the stabs, which is simple enough. Second step, then you have to put all the stabs into the robots, which is where the RNG comes in. After that, you press a button inside the robot, throw a G-strike at a cracked hole, defeat some panzers, shoot down a plane inside of zombie blood, obtain the 1-inch punch and upgrade it to the Iron Fist, and finally put the 4 stabs inside the crazy place and get kills. The only thing I dislike about this Easter egg is having to rely on RNG for the robots to come. Otherwise, you're just waiting around until you get the right one, especially in solo, where you can only use the middle robot to hit the button. Overall, Origins is a great map for experienced players, but newcomers may struggle when playing. This map is set the bar high for maps to follow, but there are still better ones to come. We've now reached the top 5 zombies maps. At number 5 is Mob of the Dead. This map is just the perfect blend of fun casual experience and something more challenging for experienced players. The setting of Alcatraz prison makes for a creepy and chilling atmosphere as the halls of the prison feel empty and lifeless, but in a good way. As you play, you feel like you're not supposed to be here, and there are messages written on the wall in blood, bodies hanging about, and an overall just decrepit atmosphere. I would also argue that Mob's opening cutscene is as iconic as 5's, since it's another one me and my brother quote endlessly. Its layout is fantastic, as it doesn't feel too big, but has a grandiose scale to it. Unlike Blood of the Dead, where they just added too much extra space, Mob makes better use of that space while being easier to traverse. There are basically 3 layers to the map: the middle layer, which is the prison itself, the bottom layer, which is the docks, and the top layer, which is the roof where you go to Pack-a-Punch. I also don't think anyone will forget how iconic putting together a plane to fly to the Golden Gate Bridge is so you can Pack-a-Punch. Like, ooh, that feels good. Or how about feeding 3 dog heads so you can get the Hell's Retriever, as it's such a good tactical weapon. The wonder weapon of the map is great as well, that being the Blundergat. While unupgraded, it's nothing special. Once you build the Acid Kit, it becomes one of the greatest wonder weapons of all time, the Acid Gat. It gets a monkey bomb effect where it distracts the zombies to the spot you shoot it, and it's pretty effective at killing them too. The greatest thing is, you don't even need to get this out of the box. You can grab 5 blue skulls around the map with the Hell's Retriever and get a free one. The Easter egg is really easy to do too, as it just requires you to fly to the bridge 3 times, enter the numbers into the panel, collect and listen to the tapes, and then go into Afterlife and fly to the bridge again. There is technically no boss fight, but if you're playing co-op, then at the end on the bridge, you fight whoever is playing as Weasel, and depending on who wins, the cycle will either continue or break. I love this map so much as a kid, and this would be one of the only maps I would play on BO2 and still love to this day, as its features make it one of the best of all time. At number 4, I have Gorod Krovi. While at times I have been known to get frustrated at this map, I can't deny that it is still a great map. First of all, the setting of a war-torn Stalingrad city where there's dragons and mechs and robots is awesome. I forgot to mention this up until now, but sometimes a map's intro cutscene can start off with banger music, such as Origins with Shepherd of Fire and Mob with Rusty Cage. But Gorod starts off with Ace of Spades, which gets you hyped for what is to come. People like to compare Gorod's layout to Darice, and while I can see where they're coming from, Gorod's layout is slightly different. Gorod is built in 3 layers like Mob. The bottom layer is where you start at and is also where you build the pieces to Pack-a-Punch. The middle layer is where you'll find the entrances to other layers and some of the shield parts. And the top layer is where you travel to Pack-a-Punch and visit the 3 main areas, which are Dragon Command, Supply Depot, and Tank Factory. Once you complete the 3 Groff modules, you can travel to the Pack-a-Punch area, which you take on a dragon, which is the coolest way to travel. The Pack-a-Punch area is pretty small, but it provides enough room to where you could camp if you wanted to. and all these areas flow into each other seamlessly and make map traversal no problem. Let's talk about the wonder weapon, which is the Raygun Mark III, and it is a really cool wonder weapon, but isn't so good in the higher rounds. However, this doesn't mean that it's bad. It's great for taking down Valkyries and Manglers, and is great to use during the Easter egg. The weapon itself has two parts. One part fires the orb that slows zombies, and another fires the ray gun itself, and when combined, the two shots create a black hole that kills any zombies in its path. This concept for a wonder weapon came back in Cold War with the Ray K, but I believe the Mark III did it better. Now, the actual Easter egg has both good steps and some annoying ones. First, you must complete the Dragon Strike, which isn't too hard as it's just a lockdown you have to complete. Then, it's a Valkyrie round where you have to kill one next to the generator and Pack-a-Punch, and then figure out a puzzle which involves moving power from one place to another to unlock a code cylinder. This step is only annoying because it requires a guide to complete, as nobody in their right mind will try to do this without a guide. Then you have to obtain the Gauntlet of Siegfried, which is kind of a long process, but isn't too bad once you know what you're doing. The reason we needed the Dragon Strike and the Gauntlet are for the next step, which is getting all the code units, and there are 6 of them to find. 2 of them require those items, then it's on to everyone's favorite step, which are the challenges. There are 6 total, but one of them always comes last. I'll discuss the easier challenges first, that being the Gersh and Groff module challenges. Gersh is easy enough, all you have to do is find him and shoot him 3 times, and the Mark III makes this really easy. The Groff module challenge is simple, just defend a Groff module from far away, then have the dragon on your gauntlet retrieve the prize inside. Next, I'll talk about the Valkyrie escort step, as you just have to escort it from Belinsky Square to Dragon Command without destroying it, which is easy if you use Undead Man or the Mark III's yellow orbs. Up next is the bomb step, which isn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be, especially on solo. It will flash 6 locations in order for you to go around and defuse bombs, and if you take too long or press the wrong one, they all explode and instantly down whoever's nearby. As I said, on solo this step is piss easy as you can just pause and write down the locations, but it is a little harder on co-op as you'll have to memorize them and coordinate with your teammates, as the time limit is stricter on co-op. But if you use proper teamwork, then this step can be easily completed. Next is the step I hate to do, which is the Mangler escort, as the Mangler moves a lot slower than the Valkyrie and can die much easier as well. I have literally had games where I did nothing to the Mangler and he just died for no reason, which is really stupid. I know what people are gonna say, just shoot off his arm cannon, but I've never gotten that trick to work without killing him, so I say fuck it and use Undead Man again. But yeah, find him somewhere, then escort him to Dragon Command. The last challenge is the lockdown at Pack-a-Punch, and this one's really easy too. Instead of zombies though, it's a lot of Manglers, which are easy to destroy with the Mark III, and after a while the download will be complete and you can bring the card back to Sophia. Then she will reward you with the power core that Nikolai needs, which you need to take to Belinsky Square, and use the dragon on your gauntlet to give him the power core. Once you have that done, it's time for boss fight, which is one of the greatest ever. You first have to fight the dragon as he breathes fire all over the arena. You have to wait for Nikolai to expose a weak point on the dragon, and then shoot him there. Do it 3 times and he goes down. But it's not over yet, as Nikolai is not going down without a fight. Now you have to take him down in his mech suit. This part is amazing, as we've never had a boss that is supposed to be one of the protagonists, but he goes against you. You have to shoot more weak points on his mech suit, and then he goes down, and you have completed the Easter egg. Oh, also this boss would be a lot harder if you couldn't cheese it with Near Death or Idolize, which makes it way easier. Overall, Gorod is a map that is unlike any other, with dragons, robots, and drunken men in mech suits. What's not to like? Coming in at number 3 is the best IW Zombies map, Zombies in Spaceland. I adore this map. It is a big reason why IW is one of my favorite Zombies games, and I believe IW deserves more praise than it gets. So why is Zombies in Spaceland so good? For starters, the setting and atmosphere are near perfect, with it being in an 80s themed amusement park. I mean, look at it. You have the arcade with games that you can actually play and earn tickets for useful items. You have the music played by DJ David Hasselhoff, and the roller coaster at the top of Polar Peak, which is always a blast to ride. All the colors and set pieces make it look very visually appealing, and I think it's the best looking COD Zombies map to date. The map layout is also very fluent, as the 3 areas being Polar Peak, Journey into Space, and Kepler, leading to one another via tunnels and routes such as the Slide, the Fountain, and the Teleporters. Speaking of the Teleporters, you just have to take all 4 of them to unlock Pack-a-Punch, which is really easy to do. Also, I don't care what anyone says, I really enjoy the wonder weapons on this map. I know some people will say they're not good, but for the Easter egg and the boss fight, they're essential. Normally, you'd have to build the wonder weapons to use them on the map, but if you have Director's Cut, just turn it on and obtain them from the box. But if you're building them, they each have 3 parts, a battery, a toy, and a gem. The batteries are obtained in several different ways, such as shooting the back of a log flume ride while wearing the glasses and shooting different targets around the map, throwing a grenade into the Journey portal and hot potatoing it to the Pack-a-Punch portal, and obtaining cryo grenades and throwing them at the Yeti statue outside of Polar to freeze zombies. All of those steps aren't too bad, but the Yeti one can be a bit finicky at times. Next is getting the toys, which can all be attained by putting certain colored coins in specific vending machines around the map. 3 green for one, 3 blue for another, 3 red for one, and 1 of each color for the last one. Finally, the gems for each can be obtained through a similar process. You first have to buy 2 things with tickets, which are the gold teeth and an arcane core to attach to your gun. You then have to interact with some UFOs on the table in the Pack-a-Punch room, which will fly to 4 separate traps. You have to get kills with that trap, and then once the UFO starts flying around the area, you get kills with the weapon that has the arcane core on it until the UFO disappears and drops an orb that will attach to your arcane core. This not only gives you access to powered elemental weapon, but it also gives you access to the gems. One more thing is you have to wait for a brute to spawn in, have him step onto the alligator trap in Kepler so he breaks the teeth that you replace with the gold teeth, and it reveals a machine inside. You then just shoot the machine with your arcane core weapon to reveal the gem, and you must do this for each of the wonder weapons. The gems can be a bit tedious to obtain as you need a lot of kills for all 4 wonder weapons, but they're awesome once they're built. The weakest one by far is the face melter, as it'll make crawlers and is not great at killing. The next one is the Discord, which makes zombies breakdance and kill anything nearby, which is nice, but the area of the dance is too small. Next is the Shredder, which vaporizes zombies nearby, and is one of the best weapons for the boss fight, but doesn't always kill zombies properly. And my favorite one, which is the Head Cutter, which gives the heads of all nearby zombies and spreads to more zombies, and this one is the best for clearing out hordes with one shot. Next I'll talk about the Easter egg, which is short but sweet. All you have to do is build a Steadicom, defend it 3 times, then bring it back to Hasselhoff, who will give you the speakers for the boss fight. The defense steps aren't too bad if you have the wonder weapons, but can be tricky as they increase the time you have to defend it for each one. Bring the Steadicom back to Hasselhoff and wait a couple rounds for him to give you the speakers. And once you place down and activate them, it's boss fight time. The boss is pretty difficult too, even after Infinity War nerfed it from launch. The first thing you have to do before the boss appears is to watch the UFO above, as it will flash 4 colors that correspond to the speakers, which need to be pressed in the order shown. This is unique, as we've never had a mechanic like this in a boss fight before, but do that 3 times and the alien boss will spawn in. This alien is no joke. He teleports around the arena, fires lasers at you, spawns zombies on top of you, the whole shebang. You just have to shoot him enough to where he goes down, then you're able to melee his backpack and knock out one of his fuses. Knock out both, then shoot him again, and he's done. It sounds pretty easy, but you can easily get blasted from across the map or get stuck on zombies while trying to shoot the alien, and that's what makes this boss so challenging, but also rewarding when you beat it. The only thing I don't enjoy is the fact that if you're playing co-op, it adds more aliens for you to take down, so 2 for 2 players, 3 for 3 players, and 4 for 4 players. That is ridiculous, as having 4 aliens to take down can be hectic and is almost guaranteed to take someone down. After that, just shoot down the UFO using a double-packed wonder weapon, and that's it. I'm also a little disappointed that there's no ending cutscene for this map, as every other map had one, but it's not too big of an issue. I think Zombies in Spaceland is a masterpiece of a map, and if you haven't played it before, I would highly recommend it. Taking the silver medal, I have Shadows of Evil. You could say that Shadows of Evil is the magnum opus of BO3, since this is probably the map that Treyarch put the most effort into making. And you can tell just from the aesthetics alone that this map is beautiful and portrays that speakeasy era of cities like Chicago perfectly. I mean, from the opening cutscene, the map paints a picture of what you're in for, along with some of the most iconic lines in Zombies being, "Hey you," and "Do ya baby?" It also blends together Lovecraft lore and creatures, as Morgue City has been taken over by a malevolent force. With creatures like parasites, keepers, margwas, and meatballs, it makes us feel like Zombies is so much more than it used to be. Along with there being a new big baddie known as the Shadow Man, who says he wants to help you, but then you find out later he wanted to control this dimension. The map itself is perfectly laid out, with there being 4 districts including spawn for you to travel to. Each district feels distinct from one another as well, with the Footlight district housing the burlesque, the waterfront has the boxing gym, Spawn has Nero's magic place, and the canals has the Ruby Rabbit. They each represent one of the 4 characters as well, since those places hold significance to them. There are also 2 layers to each district, an upper and a lower layer. You must unlock the upper layer where there will be parts for the shield and fuses for the Civil Protector. They're all connected by fast travel systems, being the portals and trams. The portals also lead you to the area where Pack-a-Punch is and connects to all the districts. Once you complete each ritual, you will get a gate worm which you can take to the underground area and perform one last ritual to unlock Pack-a-Punch. The flow of the map feels great, where the size of the map does not hinder the gameplay at all. Now onto the Wonder Weapon, which is the greatest Wonder Weapon ever, being the Apothecant Servant. The build process for it is pretty easy as well. The first part you get from a Margwa, the second part is randomly dropped from parasites or meatballs, and the third part is randomly gotten from a purple pod. It's too bad that you can't pack-a-punch the servant on this map since Treyarch wouldn't let us, otherwise it would be even better. As it is though, it's probably still the best Wonder Weapon we will ever see in Zombies, and can kill infinitely as long as you have ammo for it. The Easter egg is amazing, and easy to do, as all you have to do is obtain the Apothecant Sword, upgrade it, then defend a flag 4 times, and then boss fight. The sword is easy enough to get as you have to take the tram and look for 3 symbols and input them to the wall with beast mode. After that you fill up an egg with souls at each of the districts and you get the sword. Now time to upgrade the sword, which is a bit harder. Since you have to get your Arch Ovum egg, do the 4 rituals where you have to kill several Margwas, which can be hard to take down, then your sword is upgraded. And lastly is the flag step, where you take the flag to one of the districts and defend it at 2 locations. Then bring it to the ritual table in that district. Defending the flag is kinda tricky though, as the game will spawn in parasites, meatballs, and the Shadow Man to try and stop you. If you have the servant and lower armies, then you should have no problem. Then comes Treyarch's first ever boss fight in Zombies, which can hardly be considered a boss, since it's just you shoot the Shadow Man until he's above the ritual table and then stuff him into the summoning key. Although, when you fail to capture him, the fight does become harder because it will spawn Margwas whenever you fail. Although this does become trivial if you have a death machine, since you can just rapid fire at him until he's over the table and end the fight quickly. Now this last part of the Easter egg frustrates me a bit because you can only do it with 4 people. Also, if your team isn't coordinated, then you can easily fail this step. What you have to do is have 3 people in beast mode, 1 at every tram station and 1 at spawn, and 1 person has to call the tram, then you all have to shock an electrical box at each tram station, but also 1 person has to be at spawn to shock 3 keepers. So you can see how if your team isn't prepared, it can be a little difficult to complete. Shadows wasn't very well received at launch. A lot of players did not like the changes to the Zombies formula, but over time it has been regarded as a masterpiece, and rightfully so. It has some of the best features on any Zombies map, although it can never beat what in my opinion is the best Zombies map of all time, which is Kino der Toten Black Ops 1. Chaosic Silencer was right. This is the best Zombies map ever. Nah, I can't even say that with a straight face. Okay, so the real greatest Zombies map is one that needs no introduction, and that's Der Eisendrache. This map is as close to perfection as you can get in a Zombies map, as it appeals to both casual and hardcore players, which is very difficult to achieve. The setting and atmosphere of this map, like Mob of the Dead, is based on a real-life castle in Austria. It takes place at an abandoned Group 935 facility, which is overseen by Dr. Groff while he's at Griffin Station on the moon. This map does feel barren and desolate at times, as if this castle used to be amazing, but now it is corrupted by the work of Group 935. The map layout is one of the best as well, with there being 2 paths out of spawn that lead to power, and 2 layers, an upper layer that has the Wonder Spheres, and the lower layer that has the bow pedestals and the teleporter to the rocket pad. Pack-a-Punch is really easy to unlock as well, since it only has you teleporting 2 parts, then it gets built at the 3rd location. Each of these locations are easy to get to because of the teleporter or the Wonder Spheres. I already made a mention of the Wonder Weapons on this map, which are the 4 bows, which are similar in nature to the staves from Origins, but stand out from the staves. You have to start out by getting the regular bow, being the Wrath of the Ancients, and that is easy to do, as with Mob of the Dead, you have to feed zombies to the 3 dragon heads around the map, and then you get the bow. The 4 upgrades are more complicated though. I'll start with the easiest one to obtain, which is the Wolf Bow. You have to interact with 4 paintings in order, then go to the rocket pad, shoot a flag with the bow, interact with a wolf skeleton next to the bow pedestal, follow around a wolf ghost and get kills next to him, and finally wait for zero grav to turn on and jump up to the ledge to obtain the arrow. The wolf bow is pretty good at getting things out of your way, but it isn't very good at killing zombies usually. Next is the storm bow, which used to be the best bow until it got nerfed. Start by shooting the weather vane near the death ray, then you have to shoot the bow at 3 fire stacks around the map. After that, wait until zero gravity comes on, then run on 5 different symbols on the wall. Fill up 3 urns with souls, hit the fire stacks again with the charged shot from the urn, and finally go back to the weather vane to get the arrow. The storm bow, even though it got nerfed, is still a really good bow, and one of the best as it can protect you from zombies and is great at killing. Next is the void bow, which is my personal favorite. For this one you have to melee kill a zombie on top of the purple square, gather 6 keeper skulls around the map, sacrifice 6 crawlers on the urn, listen to the urn's name, and gather the symbols that match what his name is. The Void Bow has become better due to the Storm Bow's nerf and a buff to the Void Bow, as it's good at taking out panzers and zombies, but won't always protect you. Lastly is the fire bow, which is definitely the most complicated to make. First, you have to go to the rocket pad, wait for the rocket to launch, and then afterwards there'll be a glowing rock you have to shoot with the bow. Then you have to take all 3 Wonder Spheres and shoot red circles on the ground while you're in midair. Then you gotta get kills while you're in the red circles. Then you go back to the clock tower, it'll show you what fireplace you need to aim at for the next step. You need to make it to the fireplace with a few shots of the bow, and finally interact with the sun to obtain the arrow. This bow is the worst one to use because yes, it can kill pretty effectively, but the other bows can do the job better. All of them are pretty fun to use though, and in my opinion are easier to upgrade than the Origin staves. On to the Easter egg, which is really fun and simple to do. Getting the bows is one part of the Easter egg, but the first step is the wisp step, where you have to find 4 different spots where a glowing wisp will spawn and shoot it with an upgraded bow. You then teleport back in time, pick up the fuses and a power cell, and memorize the code that Dr. Groff enters. Then you put the fuses in the death ray, set it to protect, and activate it. The consoles will now be showing the symbols that Dr. Groff entered, and you have to repeat that code. It will then unlock the safe near the teleporter, and you must grab the cylinders inside and place them inside the 2 towers near the death ray, and set it back to destroy. Then you have to complete 2 rounds of Simon Says to bring Dempsey to the facility. Once he's here, pick up the golden rod that he dropped with him, and it's time for another round of wisps. You then use the teleporter to pick up the stone slab you'll need for the next step. You then place the golden rod in the night pedestal near the Wrath of the Ancients, and that will summon a ghostly keeper that you need to follow around and get kills with a specific upgraded bow. After that, the keeper will bring you to the MPD, and you put in the canister you found earlier into it, then it's time for boss fight. This is considered Treyarch's first real boss fight, as it's actually challenging and he has 3 phases. The boss is against the keeper that was helping you, but he has been corrupted by the Dark Ether. You must wait for him to do his lightning attack and then slam down your Ragnaroks to stop him, and stun him, and damage him. It will also spawn in a lot of panzers in between phases, so bringing in something like Danger Closest or Near Death will always help. Once you've defeated them, you put the summoning key in the MPD, then the computer up top, and that's the end. I love the rockets firing at the moon this time instead of rockets firing at the Earth like we did in Moon. Derisendurak is just Treyarch's best map they've ever made and probably ever will make, but I hope that we can still see some great maps as the DLC season for BO6 progresses. And until that day comes, I will always consider Derisendurak as the best zombies map ever made. Thank you all for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing, as this video took me a while to make, and it will really help me grow my channel. Leave a comment as well if you want to see more videos about zombies, or whatever you want to see, as if there's enough interest, I'll try to make more videos. I also live stream on YouTube and Twitch at ZombieAvocide if you want to catch a stream or two. And thank you all for watching and have an amazing day.